In the labyrinth of our modern existence, where time slips through our fingers like grains of sand, we find ourselves entangled in the chaotic dance of obligations and distractions. In this turbulent sea of incessant demands, the ancient philosophy of Stoicism emerges as a guiding light, a timeless compass navigating the treacherous waters of our lives. In the year 2024, the Stoics' approach to time management stands as a formidable fortress against the relentless assault of busyness and superficial urgency. Picture this: a Stoic soul, steadfast and resolute in the face of temporal chaos, drawing inspiration from the profound wisdom of Seneca, the Roman philosopher who once said, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." In the relentless pursuit of self-mastery, the Stoic mind recognizes that time, the most precious of resources, is often squandered in the pursuit of fleeting pleasures or consumed by the flames of destructive emotions. We, the disciples of Stoicism, understand that time is a currency, and we spend it not in the market of trivial pursuits but in the pursuit of virtue and wisdom. The Stoics' clock ticks with the rhythm of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, echoing the Stoic refrain that very little is needed to make a happy life, it is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. In the frenetic pace of the 21st century, we, the Stoics, take refuge in the inner citadel of our minds, fortifying it against the siege of external chaos. In our quest for time mastery, we heed the counsel of Epictetus, the Stoic sage who teaches us that we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. Armed with this wisdom, we navigate the turbulent currents of professional and personal obligations, embracing challenges as opportunities for growth rather than sources of distress. In a world obsessed with productivity hacks and time-saving gadgets, the Stoic stands as a lone sentinel, reminding us that the true art of time management lies not in manipulating the clock but in mastering oneself. As the great Stoic philosopher Seneca declared, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." To be a Stoic in 2024 is to reclaim the sovereignty of our time, to transcend the superficial allure of instant gratification, and to forge an unbreakable alliance with the present moment. We, the disciples of Stoicism, are not time travelers, but architects of our destinies, sculpting our lives with the chisel of wisdom and the hammer of resilience. As the Stoic's hourglass continues its silent descent, we find solace in the words of Epictetus, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." In the symphony of our existence, the Stoic's melody is one of serenity, echoing across the ages and beckoning us to master time, not as a tyrant, but as a benevolent guide on our journey toward virtue and fulfillment. In the tumultuous landscape of our lives, time is the currency we cannot replenish. The Stoic teachings on the value of time offer profound insights into effective time management and productivity, transcending the superficial tricks of modern productivity culture. Let us delve into the wisdom of the Stoics and unearth the treasures that can shape our approach to the relentless ticking of the clock. **1. Recognizing the finite nature of time**. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, reminds us that we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. Central to effective time management is the Stoic acknowledgement that time is a finite resource. By understanding the brevity of our existence, we are spurred to make intentional choices in how we allocate our time, focusing on what truly matters. *2. Distinguishing between the within and beyond our control*. One of the fundamental Stoic principles is the dichotomy of control, as outlined by Epictetus. The Stoics teach us to discern between what is within our control and what is not. In the realm of time management, this means directing our energy toward things we can influence. Dwelling on external events beyond our control only squanders the precious moments we have. *3. Embracing the present moment*. Seneca, another prominent Stoic figure, emphasizes the importance of living in the present. In our frenetic quest for productivity, we often become ensnared in regrets of the past or anxieties about the future. Stoicism teaches us to anchor ourselves in the present, extracting the maximum value from each passing moment. *4. Understanding the true cost of distractions*. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, imparts the wisdom that very little is needed to make a happy life, it is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. Distractions are the thieves of time, robbing us of the opportunity to cultivate a meaningful existence. Stoicism urges us to recognize the true cost of distractions and cultivate the discipline to resist them. ***5. Resilience in the face of adversity. The Stoics acknowledge that challenges are an inevitable part of life. Instead of viewing setbacks as obstacles, Stoicism encourages us to see them as opportunities for growth. By adopting a resilient mindset, we can navigate obstacles without being derailed, ensuring that setbacks do not consume valuable time and energy. **6. Prioritizing virtue over external achievements. While productivity culture often fixates on external achievements, Stoicism redirects our focus to internal virtues. The Stoic emphasis on wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance encourages us to prioritize the development of character over the accumulation of accolades. This shift in perspective leads to a more fulfilling and purpose-driven use of time. **7. Contemplating memento mori. The Stoic practice of memento mori, or remember that you will die, serves as a poignant reminder of our mortality. By contemplating the impermanence of life, we are motivated to live authentically and purposefully. This awareness fuels a sense of urgency, compelling us to make the most of the time we have. In essence, Stoic teachings on the value of time offer a profound framework for effective time management and productivity. By embracing the Stoic principles of recognizing the finite nature of time, distinguishing between the within and beyond our control, embracing the present moment, understanding the true cost of distractions, cultivating resilience, prioritizing virtue, and contemplating memento mori, we can navigate the temporal labyrinth of our lives with purpose, wisdom, and fortitude. Certainly, let's explore more nuanced Stoic teachings that contribute to effective time management and productivity. *8. The discipline of ascent. Epictetus introduces the concept of discipline of ascent, emphasizing that our reactions to events are within our control. In the realm of time management, this means consciously choosing our emotional responses to various tasks and interruptions. By exercising disciplined ascent, we can avoid emotional turbulence that often leads to wasted time. *9. Practicing negative visualization. Seneca encourages the practice of negative visualization, a mental exercise where one envisions potential challenges or losses. Applied to time management, this practice helps us anticipate obstacles, plan contingencies, and stay prepared for disruptions, ultimately enhancing our adaptability and minimizing the impact of unforeseen events on our productivity. *10. The wisdom of saying no. Marcus Aurelius advises, very little is needed to make a happy life, it is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. This wisdom extends to the art of saying no. Stoicism teaches us to discern between what aligns with our values and goals and what does not. Saying no to non-essential commitments preserves our time and energy for endeavors that truly matter. *11. Continuous self-reflection. The Stoic practice of self-reflection, as exemplified by Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations, involves regularly examining one's thoughts and actions. Applied to time management, self-reflection helps us identify patterns of inefficiency, areas for improvement, and ensures that we stay aligned with our overarching goals. *12. The virtue of patience. Seneca states, he suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary. In the context of time management, cultivating patience is essential. Stoicism teaches us to endure unavoidable delays or setbacks without unnecessary frustration. Patience allows us to persevere through challenges with a calm and composed demeanor, contributing to overall productivity. *13. The Stoic art of flow. The Stoic concept of eudaimonia, often translated as flourishing or living in accordance with one's true nature, aligns with the modern psychological concept of flow. The Stoic art of flow involves fully immersing oneself in the present task, experiencing a state of focused and effortless concentration. This state enhances productivity by fostering deep engagement and satisfaction in the work at hand. ** 14. Mindful consumption of information ***. In the age of information overload, Stoicism guides us in the discerning consumption of information. Seneca's advice to be careful, however, lest this reading of many authors and books of every sort may tend to make you discursive and unsteady, urges us to be intentional in selecting information that contributes to our growth and avoids unnecessary distraction. ** 15. The Stoic Calendar ***. Drawing inspiration from the Stoic emphasis on mindfulness, envisioning a Stoic calendar involves allocating specific time blocks for self-reflection, goal setting, and virtue cultivation. This structured approach ensures that time is intentionally dedicated to activities that nurture our character and align with Stoic principles. Embracing these additional Stoic teachings expands our toolkit for effective time management and productivity. By integrating these principles into our daily lives, we forge a path towards a more intentional, purpose-driven, and resilient approach to the relentless passage of time. In conclusion, the Stoic teachings on time management and productivity offer a profound philosophical foundation for navigating the complexities of our modern lives. Grounded in the wisdom of ancient philosophers such as Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius, these principles transcend the superficiality of contemporary productivity culture, inviting us to cultivate a deeper understanding of the value of time. The Stoics' journey in mastering time involves a disciplined approach to ascent, embracing negative visualization, exercising the wisdom of saying no, continuous self-reflection, nurturing the virtue of patience, attaining the Stoic art of flow, practicing mindful consumption of information, and envisioning a structured Stoic calendar. These teachings converge to form a comprehensive framework that goes beyond mere efficiency, emphasizing the cultivation of character, resilience, and a profound connection with the present moment. By internalizing Stoic principles, we transform our perception of time from a fleeting commodity into a canvas for virtue and wisdom. The Stoic path challenges us to confront destructive emotions, confront external challenges with fortitude, and live with intentional purpose. As we apply these teachings, we move beyond the superficial pursuit of productivity metrics and embrace a more profound journey towards eudaimonia, the flourishing of our true selves. In the Stoic approach to time management, each passing moment becomes an opportunity for self-improvement, a chance to align our actions with our values, and a reminder of our mortality. In the labyrinth of our daily obligations, Stoicism serves as a guiding light, urging us to navigate the currents of time with wisdom, discipline, and an unwavering commitment to virtue. The Stoics' legacy is not measured in the quantity of tasks accomplished, but in the quality of character forged through the intentional and mindful use of time. As we stand at the intersection of ancient philosophy and contemporary challenges, the Stoic teachings beckon us to reclaim our agency over time, transforming it into a tool for the sculpting of a life rich in purpose, resilience, and fulfillment. Dear viewers and seekers of wisdom, if you found solace and inspiration in our exploration of Stoic philosophy today, we invite you to delve deeper into the teachings and insights offered by our channel, Stoic Solace Society. Our mission is to provide a sanctuary for the mind, a refuge where ancient wisdom meets the challenges of modern life. To continue your journey of self-discovery and Stoic enlightenment, we encourage you to explore more videos on our channel. Dive into the rich reservoir of timeless philosophy, practical advice, and intellectual musings that form the tapestry of the Stoic Solace Society. If you resonate with the wisdom shared and wish to stay connected with our community, don't forget to hit the like button to show your appreciation. To receive regular updates and join our ever-growing community of Stoic enthusiasts, be sure to subscribe to Stoic Solace Society. By subscribing, you not only strengthen your connection with Stoic teachings but also become an integral part of a community dedicated to the pursuit of virtue and inner tranquility. Thank you for being a part of our journey. May your exploration of Stoic philosophy on the Stoic Solace Society channel be a source of enlightenment, resilience, and solace in the face of life's challenges.